Hello everyone, I'm Melissa Steinour. Thank you for joining me here today. Last week we talked about a family in the Bible that was a very dysfunctional family, and that was the family of Jacob. And Jacob had a lot of sons, but he had one 17-year-old son who he favored over all the others, and that was Joseph. And he gave Joseph a special fancy coat of many colors, and he favored him so much that the other brothers became very, very jealous of Joseph. So when they saw him coming one day to check on them as they were tending to the sheep, they decided to devise a plan and get rid of him. And they threw their younger brother into an empty cistern or an empty well. And the Bible says they actually sat down after that and decided to have a meal. And as they're having this meal, they see these Ishmaelite traders coming on camels. And they thought they could make some money off of Joseph and not actually kill him. So they pulled him out of the well and they sold him to the Ishmaelite traders. So here's poor Joseph. He's been taken to Egypt. He's placed on the auction block like an animal, and he is bid on. And an Egyptian officer by the name of Potiphar bought Joseph. And Joseph has now become a slave in Egypt. And the Bible tells us in Genesis chapter 39, verse 2, that the Lord was with Joseph. So he succeeded in everything he did as he served in the home of his Egyptian master. Now Potiphar noticed that Joseph was a hard worker, and he noticed that everything he did, he succeeded. He noticed and he recognized that the Lord was with Joseph. So he decided to put Joseph in charge of everything at his place. Everything. The Bible says that Potiphar had nothing to worry about except what he was going to eat for the day. Can you imagine? That's all he had to worry about, was what his taste buds were calling for that particular day. Now Joseph was handsome, and Mrs. Potiphar actually thought so too. And she wanted Joseph to come and sleep with her, but Joseph refused. You see, Joseph had good character, and he called adultery exactly what adultery is. He called it sin. And the Bible tells us that he said in verse 8, "Look, my master trusts me with everything in his entire household. No one here has more authority than I do. He has held nothing back from me except you, because you are his wife. How could I do such a wicked thing? It would be a great sin against God." The story goes on to say that Mrs. Potiphar kept putting pressure on him day after day, and he kept refusing to sleep with her. His character was so strong. As a matter of fact, he kept out of her way as much as possible. You see, what Joseph was doing here was he was avoiding temptation. He was safeguarding his boundaries by trying to stay away from her as much as possible. I have a question for you. Do you try to stay away from sin? Do you try to avoid it? Do you safeguard yourself? You know, the day came when, lo and behold, they were alone. Maybe she planned this. Maybe she sent the servants away for a while. I don't know. The Bible doesn't tell us. But it happened that they were alone. And Mrs. Potiphar grabbed his cloak, demanding, "Come and sleep with me." And the Bible tells us that Joseph ran. And he ran completely out of his cloak. That means he ran out in his underwear because his outer coat, his outer covering was gone, and it was in her hands. And when she realized that he had run away and his cloak was in her hands, she devised a plan, and she screamed. She screamed for servants to come. And when they eventually came, she said that he tried to rape her, and when she screamed, he ran away. She lied. Her husband came home and she lied to him, and he had Joseph put into prison. Now, the main part of this story that I want to emphasize to you today is how Joseph ran from sin. He did whatever he could do to avoid the temptation and avoid the sin. I want to ask you today, do you do what you can to avoid sin? Do you flee from it? Do you run from it? Do you avoid it at all costs because you don't want to hurt your relationship with God? This may mean that you lose friends. This may mean that you don't participate in certain activities that they do, or that you don't laugh at the dirty jokes, or that you don't go to the bar on the weekend. You know, the Bible says in 2 Corinthians 16:9, "For the eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to Him." Are you fully committed to the Lord today? Are you fully committed to walking in His ways and resisting sin? You know, He will be there for you just as He was for Joseph. Next week, we're going to follow this story and hear about what happened next in the life of Joseph. So share this video with those around you and tune in next week, and we'll go further in this story. I'll talk to you then.